Hey everyone, it's Reed here, and you're watching MOI, or the manifestation of my crazy imagination. And yeah, I know, I haven't gotten a video up in a while, it's been just crazy over here, but not work. I've actually not been going crazy at the work. Well, I'm kind of a workaholic. Work with me on that. But what I've been trying to do is spend time fixing a lot of house stuff. We've had a little reprieve, it's a little warmer. Not right now, it's actually kind of chilly this morning. But getting under the house, doing stuff, putting up the insulation. The old insulation up there is horrible. It's just falling down. It's just crud. And I've been putting good stuff up, redoing all that, and it takes time. And I got to crawl under there and squeeze my way through in a lot of spots. And I'm fat. Yeah, I just have to admit it. I'm fat. I'm working on getting that. I got a new fitness plan going on. Goal is to drop about 60 pounds of fat and add about 20 pounds of muscle. That a goal I set. So I'm working on that. Starting small, and it's been kicking my butt, making progress, but yeah, I'm working on it. And things like that. And it's kind of hard to crawl in some of those tight spaces to get the insulation and everything else put up. And trust me, I also detest fiberglass. You have no idea how much I hate fiberglass. Anyways, but you gotta do what you gotta do and work at it. Now today marks the first video in a new series that I think needs addressing, a debunking series. We're gonna cover topics and debunk them, look at them. And today's topic, if you live in the cities, you are doomed. It's prepper knowledge. Everyone knows this. You will perish. You gotta get out in the middle of nowhere. Surrounded by no one and nothing. It's just you and the wilderness for miles and miles. That is the only way you will survive the coming SHTF. Well, that's what everyone says, right? But is it really true? In fact, one person recently released a video talking about how the people inside the cities were like zoo animals. No one was aware of anything. They were all oblivious, living in happy, ignorant utopia. Okay, that was a little wild basically, but okay. So let's take a look at this. If your primary issue you are concerned about that is a big problem for you, say is nuclear warfare, and you live in one of those big cities, you probably want to move. It's not going to fit your prepper objective because they're on the target list. And if the bombs go off, your chances are going to drop real low, real low. So if you're primarily worried about nuclear war, get out, okay? Now, what if you're primarily concerned with economic collapse? Debt and everything else building up in the US and the whole economy comes down. Well, there was a really good book by Fernando, and whose last name I will obliterate just like that. I'll shoot the picture up and you can take a look. It's over here off to the side. Let me move a little bit. Yeah, way over there. So you can take a look at the book there. It's a really good book. I enjoyed a lot of it. There were a lot of nice things to learn about in there. And one of the interesting things he talked about was when everything was going bad, people out, alone, and by themselves, were spotted by criminals and people with ill intent. They watched them, they observed them, they analyzed them, and then they went in, killed the men, raped the women, killed the children, and then killed the women. If they didn't, take them for a while for, other purposes. Not a good thing. Really bad and ugly, right? And the problem was they were isolated. They couldn't get help fast enough, and they were easy pickings. Now let's take a look at South Africa, right? We're seeing similar things when they talk about the South African farmers. This is a thing that brought up quite a bit, how the South African farmers are a target for these people, and they don't have any help. And they're so outnumbered, they only got 4 or 5 people around, the main house and all that. They just can't do it. They need a lot of people. You need people to oppose a force. Okay, so let's start looking at what sort of things are going to get you if you're out and away from the cities. You're out by yourself, away from everyone and everything. It's lovely open wilderness. You are the king of your kingdom for all that you can see. What is going to get you that the city dwellers might have a much better chance of surviving, huh? Medical problems. And let's look at some of the big ones here. Heart attack. Heart attack is a time-sensitive issue. You get one like Bernie Sanders, where you got that horrible chest tightness that they were talking about and stuff like that, and people are nearby, or at least you can ambulate to your car or get to a phone, yeah, you might live. You got a good chance maybe of living through it, but the time it's going to take for you to get to medical resources, be seen, treated, and everything else, you're probably looking at irreversible, non-repairable heart damage that will affect you for the rest of your life. Might leave you permanently disabled and on oxygen. Ooh. Not real good, is that? You know, you spend all this time prepping, stacking things away, getting ready for everything. Heart attack. Took you right out. Quack. Jeez, but if you were living near the city, say you were within 5 minutes of hospital, maybe you'd be in a much better condition. Right? Something to think about, okay? What's another one? Another one that can just absolutely tear someone apart. Stroke. Oh yeah, blood clot. Breaks free, get lodged in there. Oh yeah, time is brain function on those. And if you're already having trouble, symptoms and all that, you think you're going to be able to drive yourself to a hospital? You think you're going to be able to drive a distance? No, you're going to be waiting hours for that ambulance to come reach you. And then they're going to be looking at it and they realize, oh, it's a stroke. Let's inject some anticoagulants and some other stuff in there. But to free that, if you don't get unlodged, you got to get to the hospital. They got to go in there with those things that going through the veins and grab it and pull it out. And all that moment that section of your brain is deprived of oxygen and blood flow, you were losing brain function. You're going to be permanently disabled. May never recover. All your prep's gone. Useless. No help. Yeah, that's a dangerous one there. All right. What's another one out there? You're out there looking at stuff, digging through things. Ow! Get bit by something. Oh man, that really hurt. You keep working, doing stuff, suddenly like, get a little hard to breathe. You start hiking back and it's getting worse. Worse. You have anaphylaxis. Shock. Your immune system is responding irresponsibly. Reacting, overreacting, everything's swelling up, your throat's swelling up, you can't breathe, and you just pass out and die. Nasty thing. Even if you were able to call 911, like you had good cell service and all that, and they had to drive 50 minutes out, you think you're gonna live? Remember, 3 minutes without oxygen. You're sitting there going, and then gone. All your preps. They save you? Did you have the medical equipment with you to save yourself from an anaphylactic shock? It's a good question, right? So what am I getting at here and stuff like that? Just because you're in the city does not mean you're doomed. If you're in one of the really big population centers with millions and millions of people and we suffer, grid down, EMP, all sorts of stuff like that, I think you're going to have a very difficult time. There's a lot of issues in those big population centers, resources, where you're going to acquire them, stuff like that. You've got a big challenge. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because nothing's impossible, it really isn't. Will and the willingness to fight often determines success, that drive to survive, so to speak, right? But you might want to look at seeing if you can find a job that would support you well, maybe in one that isn't right on the big population centers. Get a bit out of that. That would be my mind on that and stuff. Now, if you're in the middle of nowhere, out in the boonies like I was talking about, people, you need to form a community. You need a lot of people together to be able to project force and repel people coming at your area. You never know how they're going to find you. I mean, you may think it's impossible to find you, but people find people in the weirdest ways. They may notice there's a smell always coming down from such areas, people scouting and everything else. Like if things get desperate, and that's what we talk about a lot of times in the perfect community, things getting desperate, don't think they're not going to find you, all right? And if you're facing, 20 armed people, or maybe even more, right? Desperate, together, organized, trying to get resources, you need a lot of people to repel that. Yeah, you need a good amount of people to deal with that problem. The other thing is, you also need people to deal with medical emergencies. So you're going to need medical personnel in your community there. Nurses, some doctors, surgeons, and stuff like that. Things, if you can't get up to the hospitals, got to make your own down there. It's surprising when you're trying to do all these things, how badly you can get hurt. I've I got hurt pretty darn good myself on camping trips and stuff. I've heard plenty of stories about people that have survived wild, bad events. Ooh, amazing they lived through it, right? I mean, we've all watched those kind of stories they put on the news, or I mean, you know, the TV documentary show things, right? But I know personally people that have suffered some severe medical disasters out in the middle of nowhere doing stuff. Now, I'm not saying fear should dictate you. I'm just saying as we get older, and a lot of us that come into the prepping usually are in our 30s and up, especially when you start getting to your 40s and 50s, yeah, you got more medical problems to deal with. Heart attack and stroke really climb up that list of things that are going to affect you. So you got to have the medical resources, the people, things like that to help support that in your group in the area, okay? Now, one of the other things though, say you pick a little tiny town, but they happen to have a regional hospital in the area. Hey, there's a good resource. You can probably get several acres right on the edge of it and be only, you know, 10, 15 minutes away for medical resources and support and stuff like that. So when it's not desperate times, you're not having to worry about trying to treat some of these things on your own. You can go see the professionals and other stuff like that, and your supplies, your things for that, you can have stashed away and stay ready, right? Now, of course, you know, if it's like utterly life and death, you know, you might want to grab and deal with them as best you can to save your own life. It's important, right? Well, that's sort of the thing, is saying that people in the city, they're completely screwed and no one's turned on in there. Don't buy it. And under a lot of collapse scenarios, the city is actually pretty darn safe. And in a lot of everyday life, they have access to resources you out in the middle of nowhere aren't going to have. You need to assess that, evaluate that, and realize what you're dealing with. It's important so that you can deal with them when you face them and stuff. So don't be completely alone. Have people. You suffer a heart attack, people need to know where you're at. So like if you're going out to go chop wood and trees, or like a tree falls on you, they darn well better know where you're at. And you should have check-in times and stuff like that. So when people go, hey, you know, Reed was supposed to check in, you know, 15 minutes ago. Shoot, let's go check out, see what's going on. Important thing to consider. So if you're in the big cities, really, really big cities, evaluate what you're concerned about. What is your biggest thing you're prepping for? If you're prepping for everything, you probably want to adjust. And honestly, it's going to be pretty hard in my mind in the really, really big cities, millions of people, scarce resources, other things like that. It could be pretty hard. Now, on the flip side, right, say it was some attack or something like that, and they're prioritizing recovery efforts. Those big cities are going to be at the top of the list for receiving resources for recovery efforts. You know, supplies from FEMA, medical supplies, generators, all sorts of stuff like that. They're going to be at the very top. Those of us out in the middle of nowhere, we're going to be, I don't even think on the list. Yeah, I just don't think we're even on the list. It'd be like this emergency message, come on, please come to such and such location for assistance. We're not going to reach you, or something, you know, that you'll hear over the comms and everything else. Well, anyways, I hope this video was useful. I hope you realize it. There's more debunking things I need to do, but they're gonna have to be a bit more formal because we need to go through a bunch of facts and all sorts of stuff to lay it all out. This one I was able to address just sort of informally, and I think it probably went okay. Let me know, leave your comments, tell me what you think, and we'll continue on these topics, and I will work on getting a bunch more videos edited and posted, and you can see the strange constructions I'm doing, and you can probably laugh and say, Reed, you just don't fit under there, man. What are you doing? I'm working on it, I know. Well, take care, everyone. This is Reed, out for now.